Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping in. I sure appreciate it. Lighting's a little bit different today. It's much later in the day than I normally film. And I just, I'm so picky about my lighting and I'm so irritated by it. So I'm just trying different things. Any and all feedback is appreciated on the lighting. Thank you very much. Moving on. So it is officially June 1st when I am filming this. I think you'll see this on the 2nd, maybe the 3rd. We'll see how the weekend goes for filming and editing. But with that being said, let's talk about how May went. Did I spend too much? Did I spend okay? Did I declutter anything? How did my palettes rank for the month? All right, y'all, I'm going to scooch over. That way I've got room to show you. All right, here's my in sheet. Not as bad as May, or excuse me, not as bad as April and March. Much more doable. And there's a lot going on here. Let me explain. So on the 10th there, the e.l.f. Cream Glide lip liners. That would be these two guys right here. These are $2. And this one I debated on documenting it all because I wasn't in there to purchase it. My kids wanted to get me a Mother's Day present and they are younger. And so it was more of like, here's a handful of cash from my piggy bank, like coins that amounted to like maybe 58 cents in total. Here's your present. We're buying this for you. So since they wanted to buy something out of their own pocket with their lack of concept of money, I just wanted to find something very affordable. And you know what? These actually end up being super wonderful and I want every shade. But I did round up since they're $2. I included tax and rounded up to $5 because technically I paid for most of it, because, the handful of coins was mostly pennies and nickels, but it was so sweet. I was so happy. Please don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful. I loved it. It was just like here, we're buying this for our mom. So I picked up the bulk of it. So that's why I did include it. Take or leave it, but I rounded it up to $5. And again, any of these I round up. So if it's $2.22, I'm going to mark it as $3. If it ended up being, $51.86, I'm going to round it up to $52. Just so you're aware of how I'm labeling the money cost. And then you'll see on the 12th, I got the Ensley Rain Cold Moon palette. You can see her right back there. And right next to it, you will see the word settlement. So I like to document how and what money was spent towards these. Like if I paid in cash, that means it didn't necessarily come out of my bank account. It's usually side money I've earned, gift cards, rewards cards, things like that. So I wrote settlement next to this one. Just facts, no emotions. There was a person in my life who, per a judgment, owed me over 15 grand. This person also owed a significant amount of money to other people and had to file bankruptcy. And in the wonderful state of Arizona, you can take judgments from attorneys and attorneys' fees and whatnot into bankruptcies. Most states you can't, but of course in Arizona you can, and they sure did. And so out of the 15+ thousand that I was owed, I got a total settlement check of just over $200. Sticking with the facts, I took that $200 and decided to splurge on myself and my kids. So my kids got some nice cool things. I got a nice cool thing, and that's where that settlement comes from. So it wasn't coming out of my budget I set aside each month for beauty content and beauty products. So that's why I have it labeled there, but it did in fact, it was an end product. So that's why it's on here. Otherwise I wouldn't necessarily include it in my expenditures, but for the sake of this, we are going to. On the 17th, you'll see a hard candy primer. So I have some really great news. If you've been with me for a minute, I've been on a skincare journey and I have been in the dry to very dry skin category. And my previous dermatologist, whom I've had a relationship with for years, just suddenly shut down her office. No warnings, no signs, nothing. It was just, they weren't there. I was trying to call. I was going to this number's been disconnected kind of message. Anyways, I'm going way off track. I had to get a new dermatologist. This new dermatologist was kind of a blessing in disguise because he has really done a lot for my skin. He's changed up my skincare routine and I'm no longer dried very dry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm now normal to dry. So I do have normal days. And it's amazing because I can absolutely feel it in my face. But the point of this discussion is my foundations are now sitting differently, performing differently. So I'm trying primers again. So I picked up this hydrating primer because now my skin is more on the normal side. I feel like parts of my face are still dry, which includes this area right here, which you guys know is a major problem zone for me. So I'm trying this. I don't have any feedback on it yet because I've only used it a few times. I had a small breakout and I couldn't decide if it was hormonal or if it was this. So I took a break. I'll come back to it when I'm not in the hormonal week anymore. So giving it a shot. And then last but not least, yes, I took advantage of the Sephora sale and picked up the Natasha Denona Xenon palette. It was 50% off, you guys. $35 for Natasha Denona palette. My collector's mentality. Also, I don't necessarily consider this an impulse purchase because it literally was in my loves list of my Sephora thing. I'll put the little heart on it. My loves list. It's been in my loves list since it came out, because since it's come out, despite all of the, I don't want to say negative reviews, but this is a boring, very monochromatic palette. There's something about it that I think I want that palette. I think I want that palette. I think I want that palette. It's very outside of my normal, but I picked it up. Very outside my normal. Warm neutrals and greens, but I couldn't resist the collector's mentality part of me, and just the fact that I've had this on my list for so long and I've been so intrigued. And for that price point, I couldn't say no, so I grabbed it. So if you include the settlement money, which we're going to because it's still money out of my account, even though it wasn't in my budget, was $126, which if you take out the $80 for the Ensley Rain Cold Moon, I did pretty dang good. So without the Ensley Rain palette, it was 35, 45, like 48 bucks. Yeah. Hey, I did good. I came in clutch this month. Next up is my out sheet. So you will see that those two lines are blurred because that is all the stuff I've listed for my declutter, which you guys will see in the next video after this one. But there at the top, you will see the Tarte Quench Lip Rescue. This is an empty. I will pop up a quick picture of this. I loved this. I'm so sad it's discontinued because if it wasn't discontinued, I was going to be repurchasing it. I think I caught it on the discontinued sale because it was like $9, I think. But I bought it last summer, so it took me a year to get through it, but I really did enjoy it. And I think this is the first lip product I've ever completely finished, like without a tragedy happening to it at some point, you know, like getting close to the end and then your kid decides to smash it into the lid kind of situation. Had a few of those, but yeah. And then on the 23rd, where the lines are blurred, this is a declutter. You already know of one declutter coming because we're going to be talking about it, but actually decluttered 10 eyeshadow palettes. I know. And there's a whole bunch of other things in here. There's a couple blushes, a lip liner, a foundation. There's a few things in here, and so I don't want to give it away for the next video, but there is at least 15 products in that declutter. I did a whole collection. So I did eyeshadow, lips, bronzers, highlights, a little bit of everything. I just decluttered a little bit of everything. So that felt really, really great and kind of put me in a better situation for like a mid-year point. But let's move into the eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to scooch back toward the middle here, and we're going to rank the palettes that I was actually able to complete the No Pan Left Behind on. There's 3 palettes that I didn't, but one of them is kind of like a cheating palette, and I'll explain that when I get there. Okay, so out of the 3 palettes I didn't complete, the first one is the Urban Decay Naked Reloaded palette. And the reason that I didn't complete it is because after the first look I did with this, it was a declutter. So yes, little spoiler alert, you will see this in the declutter. It's the formula. And I think I kind of talked about in the declutter video too. I don't think it's expired because I looked at some of my other Urban Decay palettes and they all just kind of have the same formula. And I've determined that I just don't like the formula. The shimmers are just not my jam. The mattes take forever to build up and blend out. They're just not a formula that I like. I thought maybe it had been expired, but the more I'm messing with it, the more I'm looking at other palettes in comparison, I just think it's the formula. And to be honest, I was not really excited after that first look I did. The look itself was beautiful. I can pop up a quick picture here for you of what that looked like. That's from my Instagram. But you know, I don't want to use it again. I don't want to use it again. And these shades, I have these shades 100 times over, especially these browns. So it was time to go. Another palette that I didn't finish is the Alter Ego Sahara palette, which we talked about that in my previous video. I'm just bringing it into this month's rotation, which actually ended up working out really great for me. The shades that I was able to use was these two right here and these three down the line there. Those are the only shades I was able to use. So I still have a bulk of this palette to get through. So we're just rolling that into the next month. So this is one I did not complete yet. And the last one that I didn't complete that is kind of like a cheat is the Alter Ego Goddess palette. Guys, I freaking loved using this palette. I freaking loved it. And it's the dupe or alternative to the Natasha Denona Gold palette, which I know that her Golden palette's been leaked and sneak peeked and everything. And even though I have this one, I may still buy that one. It's going to depend. It's going to depend. And I'll explain why in a little bit when we get to a different palette that really just, you know, changed my perspective on palettes. But this one, there's only 3 shades that I didn't get to use. And that would be these 2 shades right here, which is Hera, Valkyrie, and then the other one is Venus. I can get these all in one look. And I plan on doing that tomorrow because normally Sundays, today Saturday, normally Sundays are not days that I do makeup. I kind of give my face a rest, but I'm going to do makeup on Sunday. I'm going to do this just to kind of get it off the books per se. So technically it's not completed, but it will be tomorrow. Is that cheating? I don't know, but that's how I'm looking at it. I keep looking and it looks so dark. It just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this lighting. It's kind of dark, but anyways. All right. So those are the 3 that I didn't finish. So now I'm ranking the 8 that I did finish. And I just want to be clear. These are not ranked within my collection. These are just ranked within themselves within this month. How I felt about them within this month. Now, if you ask me at the end of the year, they're probably going to be in a different order, especially within the larger portion of my collection. So this is just how I felt about them within the month of May. How much I love them based on my usage, based on how much I wanted to use them. So here we go. Coming in at number 8 is the Profusion Nudes palette. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. And I think we even talked about before about how this one had me feeling some kind of way about a possible declutter. I want to make it clear I'm not decluttering. So the first look I did with it, I was like, why did I want to declutter this? Because this blended and performed so beautifully. Some of these masks perform better than some of the other ones that I'm going to talk about. The only reason it's so low, I think, is just because partly of the packaging. The packaging is super cheap. It doesn't take much for it to get destroyed. Like, it just, and I think that's part of why I don't use it. I hate this packaging. It's cheap. It's flimsy. It feels cheap. But the formula is so not cheap. It's not at all. So I think that's just why I don't find myself wanting to use it, wanting to gravitate towards it. If it was in something more luxe, I was going to show you a palette in front of me, but that would give things away. But if it was in a little bit more of luxe style packaging, I would be willing to pay a lot more for it. This is $5.18 at my Walmart. But I think if they would charge me $5 more and do a little bit more upgraded packaging, it would absolutely be worth it, and I would still continue to buy it. This did make me want to buy a couple other Profusion palettes, but again, it's just the cheapo packaging that really stops me. But this was great. Coming in at number 7, this is my least favorite Natasha Denona palette, and I even decluttered some Natasha Denona. I did. I decluttered some Natasha Denona. It blew my mind too, but I'm not a bit upset about it. I'm happy with my decision. But with that being said, this is my now least favorite Natasha. It's not going anywhere, but it is the Glam palette. Let me explain. Let me explain, because I know you're going to be like, what? Why? Okay, there's 5 mattes. 5. These 3 and these 2. How do I know that so quickly? Because I had to use this palette a ton of times to use every shade. I think 6 or 7 times to get every shade, and that's why I wasn't able to finish those other 3 palettes, or other 2 palettes at least. But did you see the little human run by? He's hanging out here in my room, sorry. But yeah, so it's super shimmer heavy, and there's only 5 mattes. Let me tell you, we've talked about this, y'all. We've talked about this. You love me. You already know. I need an equal split 50-50 of mattes and shimmers or more matte heavy. And if this didn't solidify it, nothing's going to, because I was frustrated and bored. I was bored with this because I was trying to use every shade, of course, but I only had 5 mattes. And this one up here is dang near my skin tone. I know it's gray, but it doesn't really show up on my skin. So I had this one and these 3, and this one is basically black. It's like a super dark gray. So I could only use it in my outer corner or as an eyeliner. So realistically, I had these 3. These 3. Oh, I got bored. I got bored with this one, which made me sad because I love Natasha Denona's formula, but I was bored with this color story a little too quickly. So I for sure need more mattes than just this, especially when compared to the amount of shimmers in this. So I still love this palette. I'm still grateful I have it. It's not going anywhere, but it does open my eyes now moving forward into, I need to know how many mattes and shimmers are in the palette, because if there's only going to be 5 mattes, they need to be more than this. Number 6 is the ColourPop That's Taupe. There's nothing wrong with this. I have nothing to say, no complaints whatsoever. I enjoyed this palette. I've mentioned it a couple times. This is my second repurchase of the palette. I hit pan in every shade before. So yeah, I really like this palette. The only shade that I really struggle to use is this constrictor shade right here, just because it is so dark, but it is very pretty. So I've learned to put this just on like the outer portion of my eyelid and then use this one on the inside, and they blend perfectly into each other. But this is the only shade that I really struggled to make myself use. Coming in at a number 5 is my Melt Rust palette. Okay, we've talked about her a few times. We really have. Something I discovered with this though, which is another reason I'm absolutely loving this project of mine of trying to use every pan within a month, because it keeps it very fresh in my head how I feel about the other shades, is this one's definitely going to be more of a all matte look for me. This is the only shimmer that I can really jive with. I don't like dark shimmers all the way across my eyes. I have deep set, slightly hooded eyes, and yes, they are hooded. I have trained my eyebrows to be slightly raised so that my forehead doesn't wrinkle, but if I let my face fully relax, I have RBF so bad, but it is definitely hooded. But because they are deep set, if I put dark colors in here, it really closes off my eye and sinks it in, and I look sick and I look creepy and weird, and it's just not a cute thing. So these 2 shimmers are very, very dark on the lid. This is the only bright shimmer. So for me, this is more of one of those palettes where it's going to be probably an all matte look unless I'm using this gold. And as you can see, my gold shade here has a tragedy. I went to flip my brush and it dug in. I think I was trying to use this mirror, which I don't recommend. This mirror is super, super small, but I was so close to it trying to do my look, and I went to flip the brush and it, so a bit of a tragedy. But this poor palette's had a couple tragedies with a couple brushes. You can see the dip from one brush there. This dude scratched. This guy's got a mark over here from another brush. This poor guy. But this is definitely more of like a matte look palette for me, which is fine because I'm starting to really love all matte looks. Coming in here at number 4 is the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 3 palette. We've talked about this so many times at this point on my channel, so I'm not going to bore anybody with it. It's coming in number 4 just because that's where it fell. The pigment's great, the color story's great, the price is not so great, but I did really enjoy using this as often as I did. Coming in at number 3 is the ColourPop 1111 palette. I love this palette. Love this palette, you guys. And clearly the sun has suddenly gone down because now my lighting has changed even more. I'm so sorry. Good grief. I'm a mess today. I'm loving it. It's all good. I'm not mad. Hopefully you're not too angry either. But, oh boy, I love this palette so much, you guys. This is such a joy. I actually won this in a giveaway from my sweet friend Laura Fagelman, who's also here on YouTube. I will link her down below. But I won this along with some Laura Geller brushes that I'm absolutely loving in the moment. But yes, I love this palette. The more I use it, the more I love it. And I was sad to put it away for this next rotation, but I think I might sneak it in a couple times here and there. The versatility in this palette is incredible. The only shade that I didn't love using was this one down here. It's like that matte with sparkle. There you go. You can see that. So it's got a little bit of sparkle in it, but the sparkle doesn't show up but it did kind of go on patchy for me. I tried it twice. That's the only shade that I don't love, but that's okay because I can use that as a liner, and that worked out great. So she's a beautiful one. I really enjoyed her. Let's get these last two done before my lights change even more when it's pitch black outside, right? All right, coming in at number 2, it is the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, the Neutrals, his newest one. We've talked about this one a couple times too, so I really don't want to bore you guys too much, but yeah, there she is in all her glory. Like I said a couple palettes back, I'm loving all matte looks right now. Don't get me wrong, my shimmers are still my best friends, but all matte looks are just, there's something classy and elegant and gorgeous about it, and I'm here for it. And I do think I'm ready to put her away now, which is fine because I've got a whole new stash of palettes to go through, but I did really like this. I did enjoy this. It came in at number 2, which, if you can guess, leads us into number 1, which is the original Master Mattes. Why does this one come above the other one? Because it's warm. It is a warm tone palette. So yes, I really enjoyed this one so much. Pairing this with the Super Shock from ColourPop in the shade Ritz, because Ritz has a bit of a peachy base. Yes, just yes. That's all I have to say is just yes. All right, guys. Well, that is all from me. I appreciate you guys hanging out as long as you have. If you're still here, please hit that like button. I sure appreciate it. That tells me you want to keep seeing these. I love you all so much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Take care, and I will catch you in my next one. Later much.